Speedrunning. A popular method of playing games, speedrunning is when you try to complete a game as fast as possible. We've all heard about crazy records being broken, people pushing the limits of games, and insane glitches being uncovered. Many games have been speedrun, being optimized to the highest level in the process. However, when I think of speedrunning, the game that comes to mind is Super Mario Bros. Released back in 1985, the first main game of the Mario franchise. Or in other words, one of the most popular, if not the most popular, video game franchises of all time. I grew up with Mario. New Super Mario Bros. Wii was one of the first proper video games I ever played. I played through it with my dad, and many others in the franchise with him since then. Mario will always hold a special place in my heart. One day, my love for Mario intrigued me to watch a video made by a fantastic YouTuber, Bismuth, covering the Super Mario Bros. Speedrunning world record at the time. The video opened my eyes to how crazy speedrunning is. But I can never speedrun, let alone a game as technical as Super Mario Bros. I have none of the required attributes, right? But what if I tried, kept trying, didn't quit, set myself a goal to reach, play the game every day for 30 days with the aim of beating it in under 5 minutes? Just for your information, when I say beating it in under 5 minutes, I'm talking about any percent, which is the name of the speedrun category of this game, where you beat the game as fast as possible by any means necessary, i.e. you can use warps, any glitches, etc. Would I be able to accomplish this? Is it true that if you put your mind to something, no matter what, you can do it? However, I didn't just do this to have fun speedrunning or to try and get better at it. I had an underlying question to all this that I wanted answered. Does gaming affect mental health? But why did I want this answered? Well, gaming has affected my mental health plenty in the past, but I wanted to see just how much of that was the gaming itself and not external factors. I thought that playing a game every day and recording my feelings after each session would give me the best sense of how much the gaming itself really was responsible. And one more thing, I have some mental health conditions that affected me during this journey. Therefore, how gaming affected my mental health was completely unique to me, and if other people did the same journey, they may have felt completely different. And that's fine. I'll just be documenting how this journey affected me personally. So, with all that said, this is the journey I embarked on. 20th of January 2026 was my first ever recording session, and it started as you would expect, 1-1 practice. You may ask why a Mario veteran like myself would need to practice 1-1 at all. It should be easy, right? Well, you would be right. The only mildly hard section is the underground section where you have to exit it with 380 on the timer. And I say mildly hard, I literally passed it on my first ever attempt, as you can see here. So surely I can see out the level from here, right? Bro, I just fucked up this. I just fucked up this. I practiced 1-1 with a focus on the underground section for around 15 more minutes. My goal was to beat the level of 369 on the timer, as I saw one clip of Nifsky getting that, so I was pretty surprised when this happened. What? Wait, no, that can't be right. I got 370 on the timer, which was indeed right. I realise now that runners who use flagpole glitch in 1-1, their timer says 369 because you lose time clipping into the block, but you save more time skipping the flag animation. Alas, I had achieved my goal for day 1. The notes I wrote on how I felt after that day were very positive, mainly due to the fact there was no pressure on how I played, as it was the first session, but more importantly, I'd been building up to doing my first recording session for a while, but never felt ready to do it, so to get round this mental block and finally do my first session was the main factor contributing to my very positive feelings. So, initially when I started doing this project, I told myself I was going to do recording sessions on consecutive days, so I could really gauge how they were affecting my mental health. However, I then went on to complete, drum roll please, 7 recording sessions between January and May. I think this was just due to a lack of motivation. I never really felt like sitting down and doing recording sessions for 40 minutes. I always felt like I had something better to do. In these 7 sessions, I did definitely get better at the run by practicing every level individually first, using save states. Here are some of the hard tricks I hit. First, here is me hitting the pipe jumps in 1-2. Here is me hitting the wrong warp in 4-2. This took me a while to get even once, and you can tell I was desperate to get it by the way I slowed down so much just to ensure the screen didn't scroll too far. Here is me hitting the 2 pipe jumps in 8-1. I was evidently very pleased about hitting the first one, as I did it on my first try. What? I just got the first try. And here is me hitting the second one. Here is me hitting the jump over the large pipe in 8-2. And here is arguably the hardest trick, the frame perfect jump in 8-4. Yeah, ignore the sounds I'm making. I was clearly very happy to get this one, as I said, it is arguably the hardest trick in the run. Right at the end of the run too. It can definitely make or break a run, that's for certain. It was fun seeing my skills develop in real time. Going from having no idea how to do a trick to then hitting it felt so good. Like, this is how I was doing the pipe jumps in 1-2 at first. I have no idea why I was jumping off the other side of the pipe. I mean, it kind of worked though, right? When I look back at the notes I wrote on how I felt after those sessions, there is a trend. Every session that went by, I became more frustrated when I was failing tricks, and I felt further from the goal I set at the start of this whole thing. This could be an answer to my initial question of, does gaming affect mental health? Being that yes, the more video games you play, or the more you try and push yourself to achieve an in-game goal, the more your mental health deteriorates. However, the more I thought about it, I realised I was doing the project all wrong. As I said earlier, I needed to play on consecutive days to give me the best idea on how much gaming was affecting my mental health. So, when June rolled around and I only had 7 sessions under my belt, I decided to scrap those sessions and do the 30 days from now, this time consecutively. Before we get on to that, however, I also did some of my own research into how gaming affects mental health. I created a survey that was sent to my peers to gather some information from them, and then I was somehow able to arrange an interview with one of, if not the most recognisable Super Mario Bros. Speedrunner and former any % world record holder Cosmic, and asked him some questions about it. That is just crazy. I never thought I would get to have a one-on-one conversation with someone that famous, who I'm also a fan of, and you can see that interview happening on screen now. Yep, that's me in the bottom corner, alright. Crazy. Big thank you to him for agreeing to do that, and he gave me some very good insight which I will share shortly. First off though, the survey I sent to my peers gave some very interesting results, but the question I want to bring to light most is this one on screen right now. A whopping 59% of people who answered this question agreed that they have used gaming as a coping strategy, or in other words, to help them deal with something, whether that is a feeling or a real life circumstance. This is clear evidence that gaming can affect mental health, as the respondents are using it to make them feel a certain way. Here are some of the responses to the follow-up question, which was asking the respondents why they used gaming as a coping strategy. I'll give you a second to look at these responses. The main thing that comes up here is that gaming is being used to escape the real world. This could paint gaming in the light of being able to positively affect your mental health, helping you to escape real-life troubles and feel at ease. However, as this respondent pointed out in a later question, this could also be a double-edged sword. You may become too reliant on gaming as a way to avoid your real-life troubles and develop an obsession with it, because while it may make you feel better in the short term, it will not make those real-life problems disappear, and you will end up needing to use it more and more if your problems do not go away or increase in severity, hence developing an unhealthy relationship with gaming in the process. Moving on to the insights Cosmic gave me, our conversation mostly revolved around how being a YouTuber affects his mental health. However, he did give me some information on how gaming in general affects his mental health too. I took this information and turned it into 3 bullet points, which you can see on screen now. I think the one that resonated with me the most is the top one. Maybe I was feeling frustrated in my sessions as I was putting myself under too much pressure to perform. Maybe I should take speedrunning less seriously and try and have more fun. These were some of the questions I was asking myself as I went into the main bulk of this video. I had 30 days left to see if gaming really does affect mental health, and beat any % in under 5 minutes, but that's playing a side role. Mental health first and all that, yay. So, a lot of what happened in these 30 days is kind of what you would expect. I did some save state practice on each day first, then did runs from the start. I will only show the highlights from these 30 days, otherwise this video would take ages. So, by day 2, I was already beginning to hit full levels in one try. Take a look at this, where I do, not including the really easy first 3 seconds, the whole of 1-2. On day 4, I hit the whole of 8-1 perfectly, barring one mistake. Fast forward to day 10 and I'm making some very good progress. First off, I did a run from the frame perfect jump in 8-4 to the end of 8-4, which is also the end of the game. This was the first time I did a run to the end of the game, so it felt very good. Here it is. On the same day, I also hit my first notable run, all the way from 1-2 to 8-1. While it was littered with mistakes, it showed I could string together the hard tricks in the run, such as the 2 pipe jumps in 1-2 and the 4-2 wrong warp. Here it is. Just to note, I cut 4-1 from the footage because it's easy and boring. The run is legit, I swear. Getting runs like these definitely boosted my confidence, which can be seen in the notes I wrote on how I felt after each session. When I started doing the sessions consecutively, I also changed the way I wrote down my feelings after each one. Before, I had no real framework when writing them down, I just wrote whatever was coming to my head. Then I implemented this framework which you can see on screen now. It got me to rank the most common feelings I felt in recording sessions out of 10. With this, it was much quicker to look at a day and see how I felt, as I could just read the numbers instead of having to trawl through many lines of text. I also wrote down how the rest of my day was after each session, so I could look back and judge if that impacted how I felt. In the case of day 10, I put happy with progress at a 7 out of 10, and pride at an 8 out of 10, showing that doing well in video game equals feeling good. Wow, I might be Einstein, guys. But anyway, back to the speedrun. The next real run of note was on day 12. I was starting to get good runs from the start now, but even I didn't expect to go from 1-1 all the way to, well, I'll put you in when I'm at the start of 4-2 and we'll see, shall we? What's even crazier is that was my second attempt from the start that day, showing I was capable of reaching my goal. I had the skill to do so. Sub 5 minute any percent appeared closer than ever before. Now, I'm about to skip ahead a lot, but to be honest, most of the days in between were more of the same. I didn't get any better runs. 8-1 was a big block for me, but this was no surprise, as it is very hard. In fact, I would argue one of the hardest levels in the run. I just couldn't seem to get past it. Come day 26, I was just doing some runs from the start, nothing unusual. Then, something unusual did happen. I'll put you in at 8-1. Observe. Okay, disappointing. But, new personal best. At least that's something. Take it and move on to the next day. Wait, why are you showing more gameplay? Okay, cool, I get to 8-1 from the start again, but I'm just gonna die there like usual. No. Listen here, negative guy. Shut it and watch. I thought I hit the third Cooper, so I just stopped because I thought I was going to die. Yep, passed the final hard part in 8-2, only to die to something I normally found easy. Wow. It hurt, I'm gonna be honest. It hurt. But I had to forget about it and keep going. There were still 4 days left to put it right. In other news, as you could tell by hearing my epic reaction, I started talking in sessions again. I stopped doing this for like 10 days and played while listening to music instead. I'm not sure why. Honestly, I think my lack of motivation to play led to me feeling stressed when I actually did decide to start a session, so I decided to play while listening to music to help calm me down. However, I really enjoy imagining I'm speaking to an audience and entertaining them with my stupid humour, so it felt really good when I made the decision to actually start speaking again in this session. So, 4 days remained. Would I actually achieve my goal despite the little time that was left? Could I carry my momentum forwards? To cut a short story short, no, I couldn't. That last 8-2 run I showed was the furthest I got. I was gutted I couldn't achieve my goal, I won't lie. I'll give you my final feelings surrounding my journey in the last part of this video, so let's get on to that now. Throughout this video, I have mostly shown positive sessions and feelings. However, there were definitely a handful of negative sessions, and I feel it's only fair to give some examples of these. I've gathered 3 examples, with 2 of them being from that rough patch between day 10 and 26 when I couldn't pass 8-1. First off, here are the main feelings that came up on day 19. Here are the main feelings that came up on day 21. I'm showing 1 day outside the rough patch between day 10 and 26 to show negative sessions could happen even when I didn't feel stuck in game. So here are the main feelings that came up on day 29. They are more personal to me, but I still think they are relevant to touch on. I don't have time to talk in depth about these feelings, but there was one trend that interested me. A lot of times I would have my better sessions when I didn't play late at night. For example, you saw playing late at night had a negative effect on all of those days that I just showed. However, when I played earlier in the day, I tended to have much better sessions, mental and performance-wise. This leads me on nicely to the final question of this video. Does gaming affect mental health? My final answer to this question is, it depends. If you're in a good mood before you start playing a game, chances are you will have fun playing. However, if you're in a negative headspace before you start playing, gaming can definitely amplify your negative emotions. This negative headspace can also be created by your experiences when playing the game before, such as if you got stuck on a hard part while playing and didn't know how to pass it. This is how I felt when I couldn't pass 8-1. Gaming can also be used as a coping strategy, as I said earlier in the video, which can lead to unhealthy obsessions with gaming being developed. In short, gaming can affect your mental health, though I think other factors such as real life problems have a much larger influence over it. So with all that said, I'm going to let me from right after my last attempt on day 30 give my final feelings surrounding this incredible journey. So I guess you want my final thoughts. I'll be honest, every time I sat down to a session, I've never wanted to do it beforehand. But once you're in the session, it genuinely feels so fun. And I think part of that fun is being able to talk to, or feel like I'm talking to an audience. I've always, not necessarily I mean, if I was a YouTuber, I wouldn't mind. But I understand the level of work to become a YouTuber is just, I'm not willing to put that in. But to imagine myself as a YouTuber and to pretend I'm talking to some huge audience feels great, and I think that's part of why I've really enjoyed this. Obviously, I actually love speedrunning. Well, I didn't know that I loved speedrunning before, but I do now. Like, I didn't know that I loved speedrunning before, but I do now. And yeah, honestly, it's been great. It's honestly been great. Seeing my skills develop has been so good. And I know I didn't achieve my goal, but I got closer than I got closer than I would have ever imagined. To get almost to 8-3. Wow, I would never imagine that. Never have imagined that on a decent pace as well. Crazy. Like I said, I never speedrun Super Mario Bros. Before this. 20 hours work to get as far as I did. I'm proud of that. So I might continue this afterwards. And on the mental health side of things, did this impact my mental health? I'm honestly not sure. I think I have to look more in depth at my feelings after each day. We'll do the feelings after this day now. I mean, this day was a ton of fun, honestly. There wasn't actually as much pressure to perform as I was expecting. But it just felt so cool pretending like I was a YouTuber, and this is like trying to create suspense. Or like trying to create, or like this, like having like making like a high stakes YouTube video where it was like, this is the last attempt. If I fail this, it's over. Like feeling like I was in a high stakes YouTube video is really funny. So honestly, 10 pride, just for how far I've come in this journey as a whole. Happy progress. I don't really know. Anxiety and frustration. The main thing that I'm feeling right now is pride, because I've actually managed to get to the end. I've done the 30 days. Or 37 days actually in total. 20 hours, and I couldn't be more proud of my progress. So thank you all for being with me on this journey. This probably will make the final video, actually, for sure. So thank you all for being with me on this journey. I know you probably aren't going to see half of, you probably won't barely see any of the other 37 days, because otherwise the final video will be fucking, oh, I can't say that. Otherwise the final video will be just so long. But thank you all for sticking with me on this journey. I've been Bullers10, and yeah, thank you.